Well, I guess I'm gonna be one of the only positive ones here.
Those were up, and they did.
More smarts, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this movie review is going to be for a film that released on Netflix just recently, and it was for one that's starred an actress that's really mostly has just known for Stranger Things, but hasn't really done any like major release stuff. And has only really gone to Netflix. Mostly Netflix projects. There's been like, of the stuff that's released in her career, only 2 films of hers have gone to theaters. But this is going to be for the British actress Millie Bobby Brown's newest Netflix feature, Damsel. And this movie is directed by Juan Carlos Freshadil. That's going to be this review. It's 2024's Damsel. So what's the plot of this? Well, this movie focuses on this dutiful damsel who agrees to marry this handsome prince, but then she ends up finding out this royal family actually decided to have her be a sacrifice so they could repay an ancient debt. And now she's got to pretty much get out of the caves. So yeah, that's pretty much the plot of the film. It was directed by Juan Carlos, and it has a script done by Dan Mazzillo, and produced by Joe Roth and Jeff Kirstenbaum, and was pretty much not done in theaters. It was distributed to Netflix. Yeah, and Emily Badu and Mark Bomback got credited for some other material that was off screen. Then and 3 years earlier, around November 2020, the casting was pretty much announced. For Princess Elodie, they casted Millie Bobby Brown. And also, believe it or not, guys, Millie Bobby Brown, at a pretty young age, was actually the film's executive producer. Then in April 2022, Angela Bassett, Nick Robinson, Robert Ray Winston, Brooke Carter, and Sora Agasalo were also part of the cast. And when it came to filming the movie, principal photography started in early 2022. The cave scenes were shot at Meridian Water Studios in London. Then, of course, filming also was done in Portugal, Sora de Estrela, and then Balta Monastery. The dragon in the movie was designed by a guy named Patrick Tatamoulis. So yeah, after this movie was officially completed and set for its Netflix premiere, Damsel immediately premiered onto Netflix last Friday on March 8th, 2024. When it has come to the reactions, it's gotten some mixed reactions, and I'm a little surprised at the mixed reactions, because you want to know why I'm surprised at the mixed reactions, guys? Because for my reaction, before I say my reaction, we know the film, once I found out this movie was a new release on Netflix, I had not seen any of the trailers. My friends were watching it, and a majority of the scores they gave it were a 6 out of 10. I officially watched it 2 days ago, and now how the movie was from my point of view, to me, even though this has gotten mixed reactions, I might be one of the only few rare people that actually kind of really loved this movie. This might, so far for now, have to be my second favorite movie of the year, behind Dune Part 2. That's gonna be a shock, but it's true. Like, this honestly, like, this whole movie did the whole female lead of 2024 thing better than Argyle did. Like, once again, guys, fuck Argyle. All that is a CGI cat scratching out a guy's eyeballs, Catherine O'Hara making a fucking fool of herself with a shitty accent, and Bryan Cranston even making a fool of himself with the cat scene, because the guy's eyeballs that get scratched out is Bryan Cranston's character. And I like Bryan Cranston, and I actually like Bryan Cranston as one of my favorite actors, so that was completely infuriating to see. Especially have his character get a shitty-ass death. And you literally get a bunch of CGI Fast and Furious styled action that was not entertaining at all. But thankfully, Damsel was not like that. Damsel was actually enjoyable. Way more enjoyable than Argyle. Like, now, sure, it's definitely not one of the best movies of all time. It's definitely not a masterpiece, per se, but it's entertaining and it's pretty engaging. That's what, like, it still has what a movie should have. And it left a smile on my face when the credits started to roll. Like, most of our generation, none of them get to experience, like, this culture of the 80s or the 90s. So, that's what it feels like you're kind of watching here. Like, some people should learn that they don't always, like, nowadays, like, films just want to rely on the true meaning of life and all that, when back then 80s and 90s were pure escapism. Like, some people of this generation really should learn that the meaning of life is not supposed to be in every film they watch. They just need to sit back and enjoy unrealistic stuff. Yeah, this stuff would not be realistic in this movie, but that's not the point. Not every movie is supposed to be realistic nowadays. So yeah, I enjoyed Damsel. And I'm one of the few that actually did. And I'm one of the few that wishes it got better reactions. Like, there's still some problems I have with the film, no doubt. And it probably could have been, like, a perfect 9 had it tried to be more adult in terms of, like, the violence and the gore or the story. No, it didn't need to be much gorier, but they could have got away with violence and other visuals. Like, it just would have looked better in my eyes. And though, but yeah. And yeah, I thought the movie was much better than some of the people I know thought it was. The plot was simple and quite predictable, but the story is well told and I enjoyed every second of it. And simple is not too bad. Like, simple, well told can be great, and when it's especially done right. And it's sometimes what some of us would usually really need. The special effects in this movie, the special effects are alright. And the dragon was definitely well made, and the dragon did look pretty terrifying. So I really like the designs on the dragon. The dragon holds up better than a load of the shitty CGI we get today. That I will admit. And when it comes to the acting performances, like, I thought Millie Bobby Brown was actually great as the lead. The role really fit her well. Did a great job in the performance. Does this amazing job being this princess victim and eventually turns into a fighter. That's something today that even Marvel sucks fucking ass at doing. Nowadays. It's just about every one of their new stuff. And now when it comes to Millie Bobby Brown as an actress, I think, like, with the exception of, like, Stranger Things, is just alright. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of her. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I do occasionally enjoy her. When it comes to her character in Stranger Things, I like her in seasons 1. Seasons 1 and 4, I like her in. Season 2, she didn't get much to do, so she's just alright. So, season 2, she didn't have a lot to do. I don't like her in season 3. Season 3 was probably the worst portrayal of her. Especially, like, honestly, like, in the later, most of the episodes in season 3, she just gets more unlikable in season 3, in my eyes. Especially after Mallrats, which Mallrats to me is the worst Stranger Things episode. Easily, that episode, like, Mallrats from season 3, I kid you not, Mallrats and season 3 as a whole, that one episode and this whole season as a whole, that almost killed my interest in Stranger Things. Almost did. And I was hesitant to watch season 4 because of how bad season 3 was. Like, thankfully season 4 actually turned out to be the best season since the first season, and thankfully improved all the stuff that made me despise season 3. and got rid of all the bad problems that season 3 had. Yeah, like, but yeah, Mallrats is the worst Stranger Things episode, and that episode almost ruined the whole series for me. But anyways, like, but yeah, like, and when it comes to, and then she's in some of the legendary Godzilla films. I'm not a fan of the human stuff in the legendary Godzilla movies. I don't care for any of that stuff, so not too big of a fan of her character in those films, really, because I only like the Godzilla legendary stuff. I only like the Godzilla scenes, and like the Godzilla 2014 I think sucked because there was no Godzilla scenes, but Godzilla King of the Monsters improved that problem because we got to see actually more Godzilla, so it may not be Godzilla King of Monsters. I thought was enjoyably alright because for that movie we actually got to see Godzilla. It was actually about Godzilla, not the humans. Like the humans are the most uninteresting thing of the legendary stuff. But this movie, Damsel, this might easily have to be her best non-Stranger Things performance. And no, I have not seen the Enola Holmes movies, guys, so I can't say anything about those. But this one so far, until I see eventually when I do get around to watching Enola Holmes in its sequel. This was actually her best non-Stranger Things performance. That I will say, for one of the acting performances so far. I'll get to more in a bit. The story of this movie, like, this story was a breath of fresh air, and it's definitely more, and it feels more of an original plot. It takes, like, bits and pieces of good elements, it brings them all together, and they don't try to copy much else. And the acting is just also top shelf. And when it comes to the damsel herself, you actually do root for her when she's trapped in that cave, and you root for her to get out, and all the characters are likable. I don't think I hated any of the characters here. I don't think I hated any of the main characters anyways, and the scenes are definitely beautiful, and the musical score by Fleming and Hans Zimmer, it's definitely very great to listen to. You get this deep atmosphere, and it gets a good meaning in the scenes it plays in. Like, seriously, like, and how does this, like, now let's get to how the movie begins. Like, if we start off the movie where this king of this village that's called Arya is gathering his soldiers to kill a dragon that's been attacking the village. That's pretty much how you kick off the plot, and then we cut to centuries later where we see another village, not the one we just saw, and we cut to our main character, Elodie. Millie's character. And she's the daughter of this lord that's helping provide warmth and food for the people in their harsh and cold village. And also this character named Lord Bayford gets a proposal of this marriage from Queen Isabel of Arya for Elodie. And even though Elodie is hesitant, her father insists that the alliance is going to help their people, so Elodie agrees to the marriage. Once they arrive, the family is impressed by the palace, and Elodie gets escorted to her room, and from her balcony, like, she marvels at the view she sees. Then she meets the Queen and Prince Henry the next day. They're impressed by her grace and wit. Then Elodie and Henry then go for this walk so they can know each other. And then she discovers that he shares her passion and desire for traveling. And after she acquaints herself with the Queen, that attempt gets rebuffed. The stepmother, Elodie, Lady Bayford, is starting to get a bad feeling about the wedding and the family. And then of course, Lady Bayford tells Elodie later that night there's a mistake now, and she has to change her mind, but Elodie doesn't listen to it and decides she's going to go for the wedding. So the next day, when Elodie and Henry are about to get married, they take this chariot to the mountains to get married, and a group of people are wearing gold masks. Then, of course, the Queen tells this story about this dragon and this king that got freedom for 3 of his daughters. And then after that story, a ritual starts where apparently we find out that there's not actually a marriage. It's literally a sacrifice to the dragon so they can have some peace. So the Queen cuts the prince and soon-to-be princess's palms, and they now have to join hands, so the royal blood is on her. And so Henry then... And then right here, our betrayal of Henry happens. Henry carries Elodie, and he throws her into the chasm under the bridge. Elodie then cries for help, but her cries end up awakening the dragon. The dragon takes her into a cave, breathes fire into the cave, and Elodie's leg is burned by the fire the dragon breathes. And the dragon literally enjoys the chase and leaves her to tend to her wounds. Then when she falls down this tunnel, Elodie then discovers a part of the cave that's covered in glowworms. So what does she do? She literally collects the glowworms on her sleeve, and she uses it as a source of a light. Then finds a lake, but the water's all murky, sees icicles above, and they feed water to the lake, so she holds her mouth open so water drips into it. The dragon, but then sadly though, as that's happening, the dragon comes back, the ice then melts, then blows more fire at Elodie, so she runs and escapes into the cave where the dragon cannot reach her. And yeah, you know how this is going to go. It's pretty much a cat and mouse game where Elodie has to escape the dragon that are whole traitors that have staged this whole marriage to basically sacrifice her life, have pretty much tried to feed her to, and then try to go pretty much get back to her family and get revenge on the people that tried to kill her. And yeah, the film is thoroughly entertaining. It doesn't dig into real life dilemmas or go into politics or do deep morals, trying to change viewpoints or some other news story. And this movie shows that not every movie should be doing that. This movie really gets it right here, and I really that's actually why this is one of my favorite films of the year. And more about Elodie, Millie takes charge in the role of Elodie and literally shows the dragon some fire of her own. And when it comes to other performances, Robin Wright plays the corrupt queen that's actually tried to stage Millie's character's death brilliantly. And I think it's very clever how Millie not only starred in this, but also executive produced this along with her father, Robert. As well, she makes for an excellent protagonist that you actually care about, you want to root for her as a protagonist. She's very interesting, she's brave, compassionate, and actually even becomes a badass by the end of the film. And this proves that Millie's very excellent at action, and you really do believe what she goes through throughout this movie. And other performances too, Angela Bassett was also great as a stepmother in this movie. The other characters are also fine, but they're just not fleshed out very well. But although, to be fair, they're not supposed to be because they're not the focus of the movie. But they give you enough to know what kind of person they are and what motivates them. When it comes to the traitor corrupt queen or the corrupt prince or Elodie and her family. And the effects, they're very good as well. The dragon and the flames, the effects on the dragon and the flames are very realistic to look at. It literally looks like you're watching a real dragon. The scenery is gorgeous, as are the costumes. Yeah, it's all beautifully shot, and the sets all look fantastic and realistic. And it really fits the movie vibe of the movie perfectly. And the really great fact that the royal family was literally, at first it seems like they're sacrificing people to the dragon, and you find out through a plot twist they're actually tricking the dragon. And it really makes a good scenario change. Where anyone, if your own kid ever gets murdered, of course, if you were a parent, you would definitely want to avenge that kid's murder if they were your child. But it turns out that dragon was actually being bribed and tricked just to kill a bunch of innocent victims they were sacrificing to her. Because I say her because the dragon is a girl. It's not a guy dragon. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much the movie is this cat and mouse game. The dragon's trying to catch Millie's character, and it's the main strength of the film. And then after quite a bit of cat and mouse chase, after the icicle scene, Elodie then, when she's in the cave, she sees the seat. Around the middle of the film, she sees the names of all the past princesses carved into stone that all got sacrificed to this dragon. Then while she sleeps, Elodie literally dreams about the women who also hid in the cave. One of the women draws a map of the maze on the wall, and then another tells her that it was just basically alive. Then she awakens and finds that the glowworms she put on her sleeve actually healed her burn wound. So Elodie then follows the map, and hoping that she'll get out, she then sees an overhead tunnel covered in sharp crystals, finds Victoria's crown, she uses the crystals as ledges. She climbs up the tunnel to a landing where there's an opening. She almost does fall at first, but she manages to grab on in nick of time before she could fall all the way back down. And then when she gets to the top, she gets to the opening. It turns out she's on the side of the mountain and cannot even escape from there because it's actually that doesn't lead to any landing surface. It just literally, if you go out that opening, you'll fall and you'll die. And so I like that, or Elodie decides not to do something foolish or stupid like that. But the dragon catches up to her and says, 3 taken, 3 must be given. So, of course, like, when Elodie hears that, she ends up finding 3 dead young dragons right there. And that's where you get the plot twist that the queen had lied about the dragon. Then, of course, the king literally arrives at the dragon's lair unprovoked. Apparently, we find out the king came into the dragon's lair and actually killed her daughters. And that's why she demanded 3 of his daughters in return. So, but then, of course, Elodie's father, Lord Bayford, arrives because he had hired locals to guide him to her so that she could be rescued. He then finds and calls out to her. She reaches him at the same time as the dragon. And as she's like, but then she watches and hides. And the dragon tells Lord Bayford that Elodie's alive and is literally watching and can literally smell her royal blood. So Lord Bayford pretty much orders Elodie to remain in hiding right there. And the dragon pretty much kills him. So I like that right there. Like, Lord Bayford, like, knows that if Elodie reveals herself, the dragon will immediately kill her. So he decides to let himself be killed so that Elodie cannot be killed. And I really like that. Like, the father's not an asshole. I really like that the father was likable and was willing to let himself die to save his daughter's life right here. But I do wish they got to have a brief reunion for a little bit. It's kind of a shame they didn't. But all well, it is what it is. But of course, the guy distracts the dragon, though. And Elodie's at least able to say goodbye to her father. And her father tells her to escape by using these ropes. And her stepmother and she has another relative who's her sister. They're waiting for her at the port. So he's able to tell her how to get out. So she escapes with her hair. But the dragon, though, does not stop there. And it leaves the mountain to go searching for Elodie. And so Elodie now has to hide under some rocks. So the queen found out Elodie escaped, and she's now furious. And so because her attempt to sacrifice Elodie failed, she decides to literally have Elodie's sister Flora sacrificed instead. And that's what pretty much helps us lead into the climax of the movie. But, like, more about the movie itself. Like, unlike with most adventure fantasy films today, like, Damsel, like, has small space and a really simple plot. It's refreshing, exciting, suspenseful. It's definitely beautiful. It's got good landscapes, got good costumes, good colors, good creativity with lighting even, and an overall good picture quality. And the dragon's design, that probably would have to be the best dragon design I've seen for live action wise since Smaug. From the Hobbit movies. Like, really, yeah, this movie's just really good fun. The design of the dragon is ferocious, and her voice really does match to the menacing presence she has. Like Damsel, it's not one of those films that has no twists or surprises, but it's got the good plots of the genre, like where a good princess gets betrayed by an evil queen. And it's quite surprising that they went the other way, and instead of, like, selling more or fantasy movie that would hopefully, like, serve as this vehicle for some new trilogy, they decided to make this good old-fashioned movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and have no sequel setups whatsoever, for once. So I like they, for once, made a standalone fantasy film and not try to be a trilogy. Just not trying to be all Lord of the Rings for once. Because, like, not every fantasy movie needs to be Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is a good trilogy, but not every fantasy movie needs to try to be it. Just, like, seriously. But, like, everyone underestimates Elodie. They think she'll die at the hands of the dragon. Even the dragon underestimates Elodie. And she thinks that she's going to meet her end like all the other ones that got sacrificed her. But Elodie's really smart. She doesn't make dumb decisions. And realizes from her mistakes and others' mistakes that she can literally escape. Like, and her survival has this Deus Ex where her father just tried to save her, and when it comes to her Elodie's transformation, her transformation is not all quick. Yeah, you're this new character now. You're perfectly new. You don't need character development. No. It's not an easy one at all. it's not some Disney princess transformation she gets. Like, from this whole transformation she gets in the cave, she's burnt, she gets bruised from her falls, she's injured and in pain a lot, and is like desperate for survival. But she also applies herself in this difficult situation so she can still survive. She's got no superpowers, doesn't gain no magical powers, doesn't magically power her way out of things. She's not some Mary Sue either. She applies like her wits to survive these really tough situations. Like, so that's why you're pretty much rooting for her character to survive, because she gains this ally in herself so she can exact justice for those that got wronged and got sacrificed. And now after Flora was captured, back to like the story of the film, after Flora gets captured by the corrupt queen, we get the finale here, and the finale is a little cheesy, but it's still pretty satisfying. Because how the finale goes is, in the morning, Elodie finally reaches her stepmother after escaping the cave, but then her stepmother tells that Flora's been captured, so she goes back to go rescue her sister, retracts her steps in the first time in the cave, blows up some armor, decides to set up a distraction to rescue Flora from the lair, but the dragon catches up to her and a fiery fight then ensues. And it seems like Elodie's about to give up, but she feels like the spirits of those lost princesses, and she provokes the dragon to blow fire. The dragon blows the fire bounces off the wall, and the dragon burns herself. Elodie then tells the dragon that they were both lied to, they don't have to like kill each other, so... And Elodie was apparently told a story about how the dragon wreaked havoc on the village, like we saw in the beginning of the film. The dragon got fed innocent daughters disguised as royals, and the dragon then literally tells her to end it. The dragon then tells her to end it, but Elodie does not kill the dragon. Instead, she has the glowworms from earlier cure the dragon's burns instead. So Elodie realizes like the dragon was not actually the villain of the film at all, was actually bribed into killing a bunch of people, so Elodie gives the dragon a second chance, realizes the dragon was just bribed into killing her and several other princesses, and lets the glowworms cure the dragon. So after the dragon is cured, and Flora is pretty much saved, we go back to the same palace where Henry and the corrupt queen are. Henry's then being wed for one more princess they're about to sacrifice again. But then Elodie makes an entrance, and Henry just looks shocked. He realizing Elodie survived and is now furious. And so Elodie tells the princess to leave, and the queen is now mad that the sacrifice has failed. And she warns the other citizens to do the same, but the other citizens don't want to do it. They don't believe her. And so the dragon comes out, and the dragon then and Elodie has the dragon set the whole palace on fire as Elodie walks away from the palace with one cold stare in her eyes. As the whole entire corrupt queen meets her comeuppance and burns to death, she gets to suffer a brutal, painful fate that plenty of other princesses she killed did. So yeah, as did her whole kingdom. Her whole kingdom burns down, and she gets to suffer her fiery fate like she deserves. And yeah, as the whole place is burning, we get one final shot of Elodie, Flora, and Lady Bayford going home with this whole bunch of supplies to keep their people sustained. And the dragon even goes back home with them. So the dragon and Elodie have pretty much made peace with one another. They both got their revenge, and they're now going home, going back to their village. And there's no setup for no stupid sequels. It's the fucking end. Right there. The ending. That's the end of the story. There's no sequel setups. And I hope they don't make a sequel to this, because this was a perfect way to end the whole story. There's no need for follow-ups. Damsel is not meant to be some big epic. It's meant to be its own thing. It's pretty much how the movie ends. No cinematic universe setup, no sequel baiting trash, just ends there like it should. And Netflix definitely better leave this ending the fuck alone and not touch up on it. Now, as much as I loved Damsel, I'll admit there were some problems. I'm going to admit that. I could kind of see a lot of plot twists coming, even though it was still fun to watch. Like, sometimes it did feel a little rushed, and there's some continuity errors. And there's in most of the movie, there's kind of just one person on screen for 80% of the runtime. Although one person on screen is not necessarily a bad thing. And also, Angela Bassett's character, the stepmom, I really think we should have saw more of Elodie's family, especially the stepmom, which is Angela Bassett's character because, oh wait, no. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I screwed it up. Angela Bassett's character was not the stepmom. Angela Bassett's character was the villain. Sorry. Angela Bassett's character, the villain, I mean, she wasn't that fleshed out of a villain with little screen time, so I didn't really care much about her as a villain. So I feel like we should have saw more of her character be a little fleshed out a little more. We didn't really see much of the other, like, Kingdom villains, so until, like, after the whole sacrifice attempt, you don't really see the rest of the villains again until they die. So, pretty much that was a bit of a problem for me. I can agree with some people on that. But regardless, I'm one of the few rare that enjoyed Damsel, and yes, I did enjoy Damsel. Anyone who doesn't like that I didn't give this a rant needs to deal with it. Alright? I like the movie, and that's that. I know a lot of people didn't, but I did. Anyone that's gonna get all pissy with me for not hating this movie and were hoping I would rant on this, beat it. Right? This is my opinion, and this is how and I have the right to my opinion. So in the end, guys, I personally think Damsel is worth watching for people that do enjoy fantasy films, are sick of, and want to see just one and done fantasy story for once, and not trying to set up a bunch of cinematic universes and not trying to be like Lord of the Rings all the time. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of Damsel, and if you're wondering how I'm going to rate Damsel, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you're a fantasy lover and want to see an already underrated Netflix movie released this year, totally watch Damsel on Netflix once you get the chance to do so, because it is totally worth it in my eyes. If you're wondering how I'm going to rate Damsel, I'm going to give Damsel an 8.5 out of 10. And there we go, guys. That's it for my review of Damsel. So, what's my plan tonight? Well, my plan tonight, I don't know, really, yet. But I don't think I made much of a plan for tonight, but we'll just see how the rest of the night goes. I mean, yeah, like, I had some other scripts written, but I decided to just do Damsel first while I had the chance, so now I can do those scripts for those other movies I'm planning to review. Yeah, and until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.